Hi, my name is Isabel Valdes. I am a Chilean American, and I am a proud member of NERT. NERT is the Neighborhood Emergency Response Team, which is a great group here in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, organized by the fire department to help us be ready for the big one when the big earthquake comes. And I'm joining you today because over a year ago, I had the experience and lived through the earthquake in Chile that was magnitude 8.8 in the Richter scale and 8.4 in Santiago de Chile, where I was when it took place at the end of February. Beautiful summer night, but it changed not only my life, but the life of many people forever. Going to bed normally, like a regular day, without thinking that that night might be a special night. I didn't put my slippers under the bed because why would I do that? I mean, usually we're accustomed to walk barefoot these days. I didn't have my flashlight close to me. I didn't have a warm blanket to take out with me, or any of the things that I had heard about in the training in my NERD classes. So the first thought was when the movement of the house started getting serious was, oh my God, what do I do? Even though I have read, I have prepared myself, I have studied, and I have done so much, I think, about earthquake preparedness, when the moment came, I realized I hadn't really prepared myself. So what did I do? First of all, I sort of panicked. I thought, okay, what are the dangerous things in this house in Santiago de Chile? And I realized I was surrounded by glass windows. So I said I should stay away from glass windows, the big, huge glass windows, double pane, very safe. But still, when you have this kind of movements, I mean, houses really twist. So I decided to walk against the wall and with my back, and then I realized that a bookshelf that is in this house was not attached to the wall, and I could see how everything was coming down, and soon the bookshelf was going to come down. So I reached with one hand one wall and with the other hand the bookshelf, and I stayed there holding the bookshelf while I saw everything fall out from the bookshelf. I heard the noises of all the things that were falling down, glasses, paintings, my artwork, everything that could fall down, fell down. You can hear that. It's a very scary feeling. On the other hand, I think I was blessed that because I was holding into the wall and the bookshelf, I sort of could go back to my inner self, my prayers, and sort of say, these two will pass and be centered. I could see how the water in the swimming pool was sort of going around and pushing away the seats next to the pool. That's how large the waves were inside the swimming pool. We're talking a very, very strong, large movement. When the movement stopped, which it does, this was a 2-minute earthquake. There is a moment where if you haven't prepared yourself with what to do, I think you truly blank out. And I did blank out. I was like, the only thing I thought was I should have had my slippers because now the floor is full of glass and it's dark. I didn't have my flashlight, so I couldn't see where the glass was. And I need to get out. I need to get out of the house somehow. That was my first reaction. I was blessed that a person who lives in the house called my name, and with that I, got sort of startled and say, okay, I need to walk out. And she brought me a pair of slippers, which I think was one of the things I should have always known, that slippers have to be very handy and you have to know how to put them on and off fast. And then it doesn't matter where you go outdoors because there will be things in the floor that you need to step in. And if you can't walk around comfortably, you can hurt yourself. And then guess what? You can't get to a hospital. You just bleed. So my first recommendation is have your slippers, have a warm robe or something, have matches, and if possible, a flashlight that is working. And hopefully you do have a plan to talk with somebody or who you're going to connect with when the big one comes. If it is, as I said, during the night, in this case, there was somebody living in the house. But if you live alone, you have to also have a contingency plan and say, okay, who's going to be that person who will take you out of being startled? If you practice and you know your route out of the house and you don't have bookshelves that are falling and paintings that are hanging on top of your bed or large mirrors that can fall out easily, if they're not fully attached to the wall, all these become like obstacles for you to just simply get out of the house. I managed to grab the cell phone as I was running out, thinking that the cell phone was the only thing that would keep me in contact with the rest of the world. So to my surprise, hello, the antennas for the cell phone systems fell down, were one of the first things that disappeared in the landscape. So I tried to call and connect, and there was no line, period. So sitting outside after this, the movement stopped, I finally managed to get outside, and the person who was with me very kindly said, I have a blanket for you, and I have a radio, battery-powered radio that she had. She was really prepared. And she also had a flashlight. And so we sat down outside the house while, the aftershakes start. And I think for me, it was tougher, the aftershakes, because the first one is really a surprise. So you cannot be scared of a surprise. But the second one, you're already, your adrenaline level and everything is up. So you really get scared. So she gave me a glass of water, and I completely calmed down. It was amazing just, being able to relax and center. We're sitting outside, and suddenly I hear the phone ringing inside the house. And I say, it's impossible. I don't have a cell phone working. How come the phone is ringing? Mind you, this is 4 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't go in the first time because I was so scared. But after the second time the phone was ringing, I said, somebody's really trying to get in touch with me. The whole city was completely silent. There's no light. There's no sound. There is nada. It's total silence. It's a very unusual moment that you don't hear any sound. I run in the house. I pick up the phone, and it was a call from my dear son from the United States, who, before going to bed, had checked into CNN or something before calling the day off as a physician. And he saw the news that there had been an earthquake in Chile, an 8.8. Amazing, because probably I was one of the first persons in Chile to know that where the epicenter was and the magnitude of the earthquake. So because I had a landline, and this is my second strongest recommendation to you, have at home one of those good old telephones from telephone company, not electric, without having to go through any electric jinx, because there's no electricity. Nothing that is powered by electricity works. In my case, for 6 days, I didn't have any electric power. So telephones, computers, your security system, your kitchen, and anything that is electric is gone. Gas stays, and we checked that there were no leaks. We went around the house and we smelled to see if there was anything. There was none, so we kept the gas system rolling. But we had no electricity. So it was that landline, that old-fashioned telephone line, the cheapest possible telephone, that really connected me to the outside world. And also I was able to know what we were up against. Meanwhile, we had turned on the radio, and I could hear the president of Chile at that time, President Michelle Bachelet. She could not know. She was trying to find out what was the epicenter and how strong was the earthquake, because she did not have the good fortune I had of my son calling from San Francisco to let me know that he had heard the news and he knew what was happening. So thank God I could communicate. I did not manage to talk to anybody in my family until the day after, once they figured why their phones were not working, because theirs were centralized phones or cordless phones, and therefore needed electricity and they couldn't communicate. The first few days, you realize how dependent we are on electricity, because, for example, if you didn't have cash, and I wanted to go to the cash machine to get some money. The cash machine, the ATM machine is down, none. To pump gas in your car, there's no way you can pump gas without electricity. So second and third important advice for you, please do have, always make sure you have at least half the gas tank full, and that you have some cash, enough to go and shop. People tend to go to the stores and try to buy for the first few days. Third important thing is that you must have fresh water at home and enough food. You will have, the refrigerator keeps things okay for like 3 days, 4 days. But after that, you can't eat anything that has been there for a while. So the first few days was to see how far I could walk. And I did walk down the hill and visited with my father. I could find out that he was well, that my family members were well. No matter how prepared we are, how smart we are, how educated we can be in situations like this, you have to have a relationship with your neighbors. You have to be a part of a team or somebody that you can access to, because the second, third nights when I was alone and it continued shaking, believe me, it was terrifying. And it was knowing that my neighbors also knew I was there and I was alone, and that if I needed anything, I could go to them, and vice versa. I also was able to give them some of my batteries and some of the help that I had at home. Thank God I didn't cut myself walking over the glass. I was aware that that was happening, but some of the people in my neighborhood did not. So you don't take a person to the hospital for some of the basic stuff, but if you cannot stop somebody's bleeding, it's good to know what to do. And this is the kind of thing that the NERT program training will teach you very easily how to do. And I was able to do that. So in that sense, knowing that the neighborhood was there, that I had, even though last minute I had, developed that relationship, not in advance, I knew I was not alone. I thought then how traumatic it must have been for seniors, for people who really live alone, and for children, if they don't know that there is a plan, that there is a place where to go if something like this is happening.